Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show.
Dude, it's been 8 years since Predators came.
Yeah, I think I only ever saw it once. I remember liking it, though.
It was definitely a good Predator movie. There's basically no story. The story that is there is like a story hook for a pen and paper RPG. It's like, oh yeah, these warriors find themselves on this unknown planet and are being hunted by a predator. Go. It's basically the whole, actual story.
Yeah.
The rest of it's just about them trying to survive. But it did have Danny Trejo in it, which is an auto +1 star in my book. Out of 10. Because IMDb rates everything out of 10 stars. Hey, anyway, we're not here to review Predators, the 2010 movie. We're here to review The Predator, 2018 movie. This is the New Fangled Motion Picture Show. And I am Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review, as we typically do. And then we'll be doing a spoiler warning, and we'll get more in-depth into it. So, without further ado, this movie has problems.
Well, it has its share of problems, but we're kind of differing on this. I had a lot of fun watching it. I really did enjoy the movie. It does have a lot of problems, and I'll address those later, but I still had fun with it. You know, unlike say The Mummy, which had a lot of problems, but I just was not entertained by that movie. I was entertained by this movie.
Yeah, this movie, there's a lot about it, though, that just, doesn't make any sense. I mean, the backstory for why the Predator is on Earth this time around is stupid. The motivations of the first Predator are stupid. The humans, jump to a lot of conclusions with very little evidence.
They're always the right conclusions.
Yeah.
Which is unusual usually in an action movie, especially where there's some shadowy government agency involved. They're usually jumping to the wrong conclusions. No, everyone jumps to the right conclusions, but they have very little evidence to lead them to those conclusions, if any.
Yeah, and so that's hard to get past. The action is not real great. There's a lot of people standing around shooting guns at the Predator, while the Predator just sort of doesn't care and then kills people in various ways.
Yeah, the Predator seems fairly bulletproof.
There's a reason for that in this, which we'll address in the spoiler part, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, there was a lot of eye roll, groan moments with the dialogue, and a lot of the story just had a lot of problems.
The dialogue, to me, though, it took me back to an 80s, early 90s action movie time. It's that kind of dialogue.
Some of it is that kind of dialogue, and I'm fine with it, but there's a lot of it that isn't. Because there's a lot of people involved who are not the action stars of the movie. This movie has so many characters compared to the other Predator movies. And that, I don't know, it's just, I don't think it's a good formula for a Predator movie. I mean, look at the two best Predator movies are Predator, the original one, and Predators, the one that came out in 2010. I don't think there's any disputing that those two movies are the best Predator movies. And both of those just involved a small group of people who were fighters or warriors, whatever you want to call them, and about them being hunted and trying to escape, trying to elude the predator, or in the case of predators, multiple predators. This is not that. I mean, there is like this small group of soldiers, but there's a lot of other people involved, and I just don't think that those things work well as the formula for a Predator movie.
Well, I'm differing with you on a lot of stuff here. Like, it's not the greatest Predator movie by any means.
I would argue it's the worst Predator movie, not counting the AVP movies.
Well, it might be on par with Predator 2.
Maybe.
But you know, I liked the characters. Even the bad guy, I liked him.
I liked the soldiers for the most part. The scientist chick got annoying. The bad guy was fine, but the other people involved in that organization, I don't know, it just...
I don't know. I do have a few problems with him. We get into those in the spoiler portion. Some of the CG wasn't great.
Yeah, that's also, like, in a movie like this, having bad CG is inexcusable.
I mean, most of the Predator stuff, at least in the case of one of it, was like actually a guy in a suit. And it was real stuff. But then there was some other stuff that they couldn't do any other way, and
typically
some of it...
explosions.
Yeah, some of it was fine, and then some of it wasn't. I don't know if they had a different effects company doing that stuff, or if they just ran out of time or money to quite tweak those things properly. But you know,
I mean, I feel like Hollywood should have explosions down by now. Like, there's no excuse to have a bad-looking explosion in a movie at this point, I think. I mean, there's so many out there that are good explosions in movies that aren't necessarily like real high-budget action movies. So having a bad explosion in a movie that is a high-budget action movie, it's inexcusable. I mean, I'm not one to be completely taken out of a movie by bad CG. But it feels weird on this movie because it is such an effects-heavy movie that for the most part, their shots are fine. There's explosions or whatever that are fine. I think a lot of them are actually probably real pyrotechnics, maybe enhanced with CG. But yeah, there's like, I think like 2 explosions in there that just made us go like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like they spent all the budget on holograms and spaceships, because anything to do with the any holograms or anything to do with the spaceships were fine.
Right.
And then the Predator dogs usually looked pretty alright.
Yeah.
For the most part, because this one Predator has these Predator dogs.
Yeah, that was actually kind of cool. I liked that. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that they would have an analogy to a hunting dog, or the.
It does look like they took like a pit bull and added just a predator head to it though.
It looks like the mutant hounds from Fallout 4 with a predator head.
Yeah.
The dogs that the super mutants have. Yeah, it's like that with a predator face on it, with like the 4 teeth things that open up, and they have the hooked teeth on the end of them, mandibles. I guess those are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I went into this movie with fairly low expectations because it is getting a lot of fairly bad reviews. So I wasn't like disappointed. It is a Predator movie. There's a lot of dumb action, dumb macho dialogue, which is fine. But they try to give like motivation. I think that's probably my biggest problem, is like the motivations that they give to the Predator as to why he's there and what he's doing. Which I'll get more to in the spoiler part. I think that's probably my biggest hang up.
Yeah, that's my mine as well, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in there that makes up for it somewhat. And again, like, yeah, the background story is dumb, as far as like the Predator's motivations, but otherwise, I really did enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was. I didn't hate the movie. It's just it has a lot of issues. Like, I don't foresee myself ever wanting to watch this movie again. I don't necessarily regret having watched it though, which I think is something a distinction that's very important to point out. Like, there's a difference between this was a bad movie, I regret seeing this movie, like the Suicide Squad, and
I don't regret seeing the first half of Suicide Squad. Maybe quarter of Suicide Squad.
Quarter of Suicide Squad. And then there are movies that are bad, but it's like I'm never gonna watch this movie again, but I don't mind having seen it. And that's where this movie sits for me. It's like I'm probably never gonna watch this movie again.
I'd watch it again.
I'd watch Predators again.
I did enjoy the I liked the ensemble.
Yeah,
cast.
The soldiers were all cool. I liked that. Which is what Keegan-Michael Key's in the movie. Yeah, so I don't know. Go see it or don't, whatever.
If you like the other Predator movies and you like 80s and 90s style action movies, I'd recommend seeing it.
Yeah, and it's just like the Predator itself is so cool. Like, it is a cool movie creature. It's really neat. It has a lot of cool gadgets and like the culture around the Predator as far as like it being this big game hunter essentially. Like, I think all of that's really neat. And then they screwed it all up in this one.
Do remind me, there's this sort of running gag in it where they keep pointing out, like, yeah, the Predator comes to Earth as a big game hunter and he likes to hunt. Like, well, that's not a Predator.
Yeah, they keep pointing out that like he enjoys hunting and taking trophies, and everyone's like, that's not a Predator. A Predator eats its prey.
Yeah, Predators hunt for food, and he's just a big game hunter. And this is like this sort of like running gag. It comes up several times throughout the movie. Like, well, Predator's not really the apt name for it,
but it's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. They play this off as everyone's calling it the Predator because there's been this series of times where the Predators come to Earth, and that's just the nickname that people in the government, like the UFO hunting group and the government or whatever, have named this thing is the Predator, even though it was never called that in any other movie, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. They might have. I don't think they called it that in Predator. I don't think it was ever mentioned in the original movie.
No, it wasn't definitely in that.
But I think they might have called it that in Predators at some point.
I've only seen Predators once. I've seen all the other ones many times. Well, the other previous two many times. And then the AVP ones I've only seen once each.
Requiem. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is a bad movie and I regret seeing it.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie.
Anyway.
Although I think it's better than the first AVP.
Yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, we're not getting into that. We can go on and on about that. What we are going to get into is the spoiler part, I think.
Yeah.
Alright. So the last 10 minutes of this movie sucked, story-wise.
Yeah, so here's basically what... like, the movie opens up with a Predator ship fleeing from another Predator ship, and it goes into, like, warp, and it comes up at an Earth, and it's, like, gonna crash in the Predator abandoned ship. And...
our main character is hunting... he's like, U.S. Special Forces, and they're doing something down in Mexico against the... or they're, like, trying to kill hostages from the
cartel. And then that's when the Predator's escape pod crashes there. And so the Predator kills his team, but the guy gets away with the mask and the gauntlet.
Well, he injures the Predator.
Yeah, he injures the Predator, and he gets away. Well, the Predator was injured from the crash, I believe.
Yeah, it was injured from the crash, but then he hit it again with one of its own weapons.
Right. And so he gets away with the mask
and the left gauntlet.
And his cloaking device.
Because it was in the left gauntlet.
Right. And he sends that back to America for to his son.
Well, he sends it to his P.O. box.
Oh, yeah, he sends it to his P.O. box, and the mail, since he hadn't emptied his P.O. box, the Postal Service...
He owed the bill. It was over. The mailman mentioned that the P.O. box was overdue.
So the mailman brings it all to his wife's house.
Where his son lives, too.
I don't know if they're divorced yet or not, but they're estranged, right?
Yeah. They're separated for sure, because she mentions to him, "This isn't your house anymore," when he shows up there.
Right. I don't know if they mentioned that they're actually divorced or not. Anyway, so her son, who has Asperger's, that's kind of important because he's like sort of a savant at like puzzle solving or whatever. So he's able to break the Predator language, the written language anyway, and figure things out.
Kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's not really possible without any sort of reference, back and forth. But anyway, so
yeah, he's able to break the code to get into the crash ship.
Yeah, so this government agency or whatever, they led by Sterling K. Brown, who's been in a bunch of stuff lately.
Yep.
They pick up our main character.
Most recently, he was one of the main characters in Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, and they pick up the main character, and they're gonna send him off to some government psychiatric hospital or something. That's where he meets the rest of the team on the bus.
Yeah, they're all on a prison transport bus or whatever. And this was weird. And this kind of bothered me is like all the guys in this movie who were like U.S. Army, kind of old. Like other than like the main ensemble.
Yeah, it's like weird. You expect, like I remember. I noticed that as well. There are these guys that are like, they'd be like tech specialists or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I could see if that guy were like a colonel. He's about the age of a colonel should be, but that guy is...
Yeah, it's like, this dude's just like on a computer and he points out when there's a blip on the radar. Like, that dude shouldn't look like he's set, like 50 years old.
Right, yeah, like a lot of... And then there was those two guys, they were wearing airborne patches.
Yeah, which was also weird.
They're wearing airborne patches and they're escorting the main guy to the prison, to the bus, and like this guy is like, he's like 50-something.
Yeah, like
and
gray hair.
Yeah, gray hair, like crow's feet. I'm like, why is this guy doing this job in the army? That made no sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, on the bus, he meets the rest of the team, and they get diverted though to the alien research place because, oh yeah, he saw the alien. Maybe we should talk to him.
Yeah.
They meanwhile.
Which that was weird because he went from being interrogated to being taken to the bus, but the dude who's the head of that shadow government organization, played by Sterling K. Brown, was watching the interrogation, and then he managed to get to the facility fast enough to have...
There might have been a time jump that we're unaware of.
Yeah, maybe he spent some time before being put on the bus. It was kind of weird pacing of the movie for that.
Yeah,
and then, like...
Yeah, they brought in this, like, biologist to study the predator that they have.
Yeah, she's like an evolutionary biologist or something.
Yeah, they have this predator...
Played by Olivia Munn.
Yeah, they're on the... It's like on the slab, it's alive, just sedated, and they check and they're looking. She's like, oh, it has human DNA. Like, how do you like look at that DNA strand and recognize it as human?
I'm looking at this 3D animation of a triple helix, which is weird. I thought that was going to be what she commented on.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's a triple helix of DNA? I was like, but no, that wasn't it. Also, why would a species that is superior to us in literally every way, they're stronger, faster than us, better equipped.
Oh well, first of
Bigger than
all,
us.
from that DNA strand, she jumps to the conclusion that it's a hybrid
Oh yeah.
human and predator. It would be nice if we actually had a species name for the predator, but it would just be a gurgling, roaring sound, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and there was this kind of funny joke. She's like, "You want me to figure out if someone fucked an alien?"
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, "Yeah." It got a laugh in the theater. Anyway, but what it turns out is the case. The predators are going around the galaxy and finding like just the greatest warriors across the galaxy and taking their DNA. That was the whole point of taking spines.
Which I dislike intensely.
Should have just left it as
I think
trophies.
it's a better movie monster if it just wants to collect trophies. I think it is a better, it's a better monster.
Anyway, it's taking the DNA and they're making hybrids to like further their species. And so that's when we get back to like what Niall was about to say, is that the predator is obviously bigger, stronger, more advanced than humans in every way.
It's got claws for scratching. It's got mandibles for tearing.
Which it does.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. When it breaks off the slab, it
bites down on this dude's arm.
Bites down, it uses its mandibles to tear a dude's throat open and uses its claws and stuff. And that was all really cool because you don't get to see that stuff that much in Predator movies. They always have the extendo claws that come out from their gauntlets, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, what was I getting to? Oh yeah, so they're enhancing their species through gene therapy or whatever, using the DNA of different species around the galaxy. I'm like, why would you take this human? Granted, humans have been able to kill predators in the past, but it always ultimately took several of them.
Yeah.
Arnold's whole team gets wiped out. Danny Glover's a lot of people get wiped out in that movie.
Danny Trejo gets killed.
Yeah, and he's the pinnacle of human evolution. So, right, it just makes no sense. But then, all right, so the overarching backstory of this predator and his motivation is, all right. So first of all, we have no evidence that this is the case, but it apparently is the case. So the humans realize, all right, they're taking our DNA and they're doing this with all kinds of aliens, and then I believe that they said that it's so that they could be better adapted to come in and take over the planet.
Yeah, so they're wanting to come take over the Earth after global warming takes over and makes it
more habitable for
them, because they seem to like tropical,
hot.
Humid, hot environments or whatever.
Right.
And then, which
we have no evidence of that.
We have no evidence that that's the case, but the humans have no evidence of that.
Yeah.
It's sort of implied with some of this stuff, some of the interaction between the predators.
Right. So this one is no, that's not cool. I'm gonna go to Earth and save humanity, kill a lot of them in the process, but save humanity by giving them a device in order to fight predators.
Yeah, which that's revealed at the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Right. And so another predator who's 11 feet tall.
Yeah.
Seriously, they bring that up. He's 11 feet tall. Shows up on Earth with his predator dogs to hunt the first predator down.
And he's got all of the alien upgrades or whatever, gene upgrades.
Plus apparently some cybernetics, because he his vision, he can change the...
Yeah, he has the predator vision through his eyes.
Yeah, not through the mask.
Right, he doesn't wear a mask.
Right, so you see it through his eyes, plus also he looks at things and it'll scan words and translate them into the predator language. And
yeah, and he's got they call it an exoskeleton, which doesn't make sense because it's actually still on the inside.
It's a subdermal...
we were calling it a subdermal
armor
carapace.
Yeah,
subdermal carapace, I think is the name we came up with,
right.
Which is a way cooler sounding name.
Yeah,
I think.
But basically the thing's bulletproof.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop them from wasting thousands of rounds of ammo on it to no effect.
It's like,
but it's essentially bulletproof.
After the first...
Because it walks around in nothing but a little Speedo.
Yeah.
Like he's naked otherwise.
After the first mag of 5.56, you dump into the thing. Like, at what point do you not... I mean, this bothered me, too. So when the main character gets home, and his kid's out trick-or-treating, because, of course, this is around Halloween.
And he's wearing the Predator mask.
He's wearing the Predator mask. He finds out that, he realizes the kid has the Predator mask, the government's going to be coming for him, the Predator's going to be coming for him. So he grabs he has this bolt-action rifle that looks like it's probably a...
Well, his wife grabs it.
Or his wife grabs it, and then he grabs it from her, because he's a sniper, so it makes sense that he would own this, I guess. And it looks like it's a 30 cal of some kind, maybe.
Plus, he lives in a fairly rural area, so he might be a hunter too.
Yeah, so it might be like a like a
308
or a Kasul, not a Kasul, a Lapua or something like that. So it looks like a fairly high-powered round or high-powered rifle. And then when it cuts to them fighting the Predator, he's got this AR-15.
Yeah, you never see that rifle again.
You never see that rifle again, and I'm sitting there going, like, okay, so clearly your 5.56 does nothing to the Predator, also does nothing to the Predator dogs. Where I was kept expecting him to run back and get the bigger rifle. And that never happened, because everyone's just pumping round after round into him from guns that are 5.56, 45 ACP, or 9mm, and all of those, like, if the 5.56 doesn't penetrate armor, whatever armor you're shooting at, the 45 and the 9mm definitely aren't. So
it's a literal Chekhov's gun failure.
Yeah. So
the other thing that was weird to me,
and
so the Predator has these two dog-like things we already discussed. They kill one of them, but then they shoot one like in the temple
with. Well, it was like with a syringe gun or something, wasn't it?
I thought they shot it in the eye. Until I saw later, like, no, it's still got its eyes. They shot it in the temple.
Yeah.
Like, from point blank, like, up against it. And, it, like, just sort of wanders off. But then it starts following them, and it becomes, like, their pet. I'm like, what is going on with this?
And then when the big Predator shows up at the very end, and they have the fight at the very end, the dog attacks the big Predator, which...
Was his owner.
So we're sitting there going, well, that doesn't... Assuming that this thing has a fairly canine-like mind... We have no confirmation that it operates that way, really. But
the humans who are 100% correct in all their assumptions assume that, and so
So it doesn't make sense. Okay, so maybe it makes sense that they scrambled its brain a bit, so it's just kind of like Big Dumb Dog or whatever.
Well, yeah, they made a reference to like having lobotomized it with that gunshot.
Yeah, and so. Yeah, so they make reference to it just sort of being like Big Dumb Dog now. But that doesn't explain why it would attack its previous owner at the end of the movie. That was really dumb. And unnecessary. Like, it didn't add anything to the story.
No, because it didn't help.
So...
Yeah, and so...
And, like... yeah, so, Predator dealing with the government agency, trying to get away from them. Trying to avoid the Predator. The Predator's trying to blow up the ship. The government agency wants the ship because they assume that there's something in it to help them fight the Predator because the friendly Predator was coming to help them.
But he wasn't friendly at all. He tried to kill everyone and got like anywhere near him.
Yeah, that's true. And then
the only person he just actively didn't try to kill was the scientist when she was unarmed and naked and cowering in the decontamination chamber because it was the Predator's being kept in a sterile environment, right. And so she's trying to get out of there and she has to like go through this decontamination chamber, and so he just like walks in, looks at her, sees her just cowering there, and just walks away. I figured, oh well, she's not a threat, so why bother? It's happened in other Predator movies.
Right.
Where it looks at something, decides they're not a threat, therefore not worth his time.
Which makes sense if it is a hunter, a trophy hunter.
Right.
Because it's like, someone who...
Like, look, I shot a lion. You shot a lion cub. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, someone who hunts bears, 'cause there are maniacs who do that, don't hunt cubs. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, they're keeping all the like predator behaviors that have been established in the previous movies, but completely changing what the implied motivations are.
Yeah, and
the new implied motivations don't match those behaviors.
Right, and because of I'm kind of disappointed in that because I expected better from Shane Black, who was in the first Predator movie, and he expressed like a lot of interest in like this being a sequel to the Predator, not like a reboot or anything, and he was gonna like draw on everything from the previous movies into this and everything like that. And so yeah, really my only problem with the movie that I say is just makes it bad is that like backstory with the Predator and the Predator's motivation. And
yeah, and it also, so if this is a sequel in the established canon, the events of Predators does not make sense.
Right.
Either, because they kidnap these people from Earth and release them in a game preserve on another planet to hunt them.
I mean,
if their motivations in hunting things is to rip out their spines and like drink their spinal fluid to gain their strength or whatever, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, I mean, they even got Jake Busey in this to play the son of Gary Busey's character from Predator 2.
Yeah. I mean, this movie had the correct amount of Jake Busey.
Yeah.
It's enough for you to go, oh, there's Jake Busey. Oh, he's kind of an annoying character.
Remember when he popped up in Day 5?
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy. Anyway.
It was actually a pretty good character on his part.
Yeah, so despite all that ranting with the movie, I still enjoyed it.
So, well, hold on, we're not done yet.
Oh, okay.
So, alright, so, turns out, the Predator has deemed the main character's son with Asperger's as the
most evolved of humanity.
And they make reference to some people think that Asperger's isn't necessarily
well, anything on the autistic scale.
Yeah, isn't necessarily what I'm looking for.
A disability.
But like the next form of evolution trying to take hold, because sometimes like a lot of them are like in this kid's case, he doesn't mesh socially with anyone, but he's really, really good at the things he's good at.
Very intelligent.
Very intelligent in that way. And so the Predator says something about, the big Predator says something about, oh yeah, and using the translating computer that the government has, and that doesn't make sense either. But he mentions that, and then that he will be the leader of the humans or something. And so at the very end of the movie, that kid is working at that government agency, and they have these pods that were left behind by the quote-unquote good Predator.
The first Predator. Which is, and it was weird because it says pod 03 in English on the pod.
Yeah, we were expecting it to be a human,
Arnold. I was expecting Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, we were saying oh man, this would be actually kind of cool if since it says pod 03, if it were a human-made thing, and so a human thing comes out of it.
But
no, that was just
so
a
this weird
continuity issue on
thing
their
like
part.
floats up out of it, and then it like latches onto this guy, and it builds this like Iron Man like suit, like like in the way that like the newest Iron Man in the newest movies, the Iron Man suit just sort of forms around him.
Right.
In that way, it builds like this Predator exoskeleton with these giant guns on the shoulder.
And the guns are like way too implausibly big.
Oh yeah, they're like 6 feet long each.
And they like fold behind it like wings, but like on these little rods that attach it to the suit. Like they look like way too much mass for these rods to hold. And like the suit activates and the guns pop up, and the little triangle or the little like 3 laser dots that the Predator uses as its gun sight like pops up on 8 different people or whatever, implying that it has a bunch of guns, right?
Yeah.
And then
this is all the gift from the first Predator.
Yeah, this is all a gift from the first Predator. Oh, they call it
the
Predator Killer or whatever. And then the suit like folds back into the gauntlet thing, and the dude collapses. Somehow doesn't throw up from that.
I thought he was about to, because he like falls to his knees in that like I'm about to throw up pose. It's like universal like movie language.
Yeah,
but he doesn't throw up. Yeah, and then so the main character guy who's wearing the wrong uniform.
Yeah, so he's throughout the whole movie they keep calling him a Ranger Sniper, and he's wearing a Cav uniform. So there's that, or he has Cav unit patches, is what it is. So there's that. And like his hair isn't in regs in that last scene either.
Yeah, like it was.
It's
like they shot the scene like at some other like it was a pickup scene or something, because his hair is short cropped throughout the movie, and then at that scene you can see it's like a little long in the back and sticking out from under his hat. Yeah, and everything, and it's like, did they like do these pickup shots like months later, and he let his hair grow out,
and they didn't bother cutting it?
Yeah, it was weird.
But it looks weird because he's in a dress uniform, so it looks really weird to be out of regs in a dress uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, someone goes, "What is it?" And he goes, "That's my new suit," or whatever.
He's like, "My new suit." He called him like, not bro,
bub,
but nah.
Yeah, it felt weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was a bad bit of dialogue.
So the intent is clearly that like they'll have a sequel, unlikely. Where
he's wearing the suit.
Where he's wearing the suit and fighting predators that have come to Earth to invade or something. And like, predators are not an invasive species.
Yeah. So,
never been established as such.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest problem that I have, and the main problem you have with the movie is definitely that they completely changed the motivations of the Predator but the actions of the Predator don't support that. You know? So, yeah. I think it's like kind of my biggest issues with it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Their ragtag crew of soldiers,
misfits.
They're misfit. They're pretty entertaining though. They're
the
funny
interaction
guys.
between them was pretty funny. I enjoyed that.
They were all pretty good.
The movie didn't have the other thing this movie was missing is the like ridiculous levels of testosterone laden machismo.
Yeah. No, ain't got time to bleed or any of that. Which is something else it was weird I expected from Shane Black. I mean, he's the guy he wrote Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
For one thing. There was one part that I thought was really funny where involved a death where I don't even remember the main character's name, but the main character, he's got this tranquilizer rifle.
McKenna.
He's got this tranquilizer rifle, and he's pointed at one of the government guys who's a
G-Man.
A bad dude.
There's that Niall guy, right?
Yeah, that guy who's on Eureka.
Yeah.
The guy named Niall.
Go that guy.
Anyway, he's like, what are you gonna do? Kill me with a tranquilizer gun? He says, yes, and he shoots him in the eye.
Yeah, he shoots him in the eye, so it goes, like, through.
Yeah, so it's like embedded, like, fully in his head, just like really gory blood splatter.
Yeah.
This movie does have plenty of gore.
Yeah.
Which is something you want from a movie like Predator. That was one of the things.
Where there's, like, dudes getting ripped in half and disemboweled and stuff.
Yeah, that was one of the things about, like, the AVP movies. They just weren't gory.
Well, they were also PG-13.
Yeah, they were PG-13 movies.
Like, you can get away with an Alien movie at PG-13, I think. Because, like, I mean, you could tone back Aliens a little bit and make it PG-13.
Yeah, there's not a lot of gore in that. It's mostly swearing in Aliens that really drives up that R rating.
Right, so you could dial back the swearing and not really lose anything.
Mm-hmm. This movie had plenty of swearing too.
Yeah, so
even the kid swears in it. It's kind of funny.
But you can't dial back the gore with a Predator movie and it still be a proper Predator movie. You know, because like it is hyper violent. It is a lot of like ripping limbs off and
early on in the movie when the Predator ship crashes and he's fighting the Predator there in the jungle and he injures it and it's lying there and it's cloaked, right? It's invisible, and then there's this guy hanging from like a tree above him that's been disemboweled, and the blood's raining down on it.
And he cut in half.
Yeah,
because the Predator like yanks him up with that hook or whatever,
right?
And he's suspended in the tree, and the main character accidentally activates the blade launcher thing on the gauntlet, and it flies and it injures the cloaked Predator and cuts that dude in half. So the Predator falls over, still cloaked but injured, and yeah, all the like blood and gore's just falling on him and it coats him.
And so now you can see him, and he's just like completely like covered in blood, and then his eyes pop open.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool effect.
Yeah,
I had high hopes from that opening.
Yeah,
and then it went downhill from there.
My only problem is the backstory with the Predator.
It's a pretty big problem, though.
Yeah, it's a big deal, but overall the rest of the movie I enjoyed the movie, and I think that a lot of the stuff that there's a lot of good stuff in there that starts to make up for that.
I think they ruined the series though by this. Like,
well, yeah, anything after that, if they're gonna stick with this plot, is just gonna
literally cannot be good.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that. But yeah, I think we've ranted enough about this movie.
Yeah, this is probably the longest video we've done in a while.
Yeah, it's always movies we have a lot of bad things to say about.
Yeah.
That we go long on. So the next movie we're going to be doing, and the video will probably be coming out later the same day as this video, maybe, or the day after this one.
Let's get this up tonight.
Oh, let's look up tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next movie that we're doing is White Boy Rick. That movie looks really good. I have high expectations for that movie. I'm pretty excited for it. And then next week we're going to be seeing The Sisters Brothers.
Oh, is that next
week?
That's
that John C. Reilly.
I know what movie it is. Just saying, is that coming out
next week? Next week. So, excited for that. We're not seeing Smallfoot. That movie looks awful. Let's see, the week after, might be seeing The Old Man and the Gun. Still haven't fully decided. Might see if we can find this documentary about Joan Jett, though.
Yeah, I told you there was a documentary about Joan Jett.
Yeah, probably won't review it. But then, at the beginning of October, we've got Venom. Looks bad.
Yeah, I was excited for Venom at first, and then after after the trailers, I was like, eh.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, we might see that mid-90s movie with Jonah Hill. Looks like total Oscar bait.
I don't know anything about that movie.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I did see the trailer for that movie.
Yeah.
Okay. The kid of the skateboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, troubled youths in the 90s. That's what that movie's about. And then, yeah, there's like nothing else coming out in October, so. Ooh, man. The fall sucks for movies.
Oh, we got Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that's in November. So, it's gonna be light next month. Bear with us. We're not happy about it either. Because going to movies is kind of our thing. It's what we do.
Then we get into the Christmas movie season. There'll be plenty of stuff.
Yeah.
Look at all that stuff coming
Yeah,
out.
Creed 2, Fantastic Beast. Maybe Overlord.
I want to see Overlord.
The Girl in the Spider's Web will probably be good.
I didn't see the girl with the dragon tattoo though.
We'll make it happen. Before then, yeah, Creed 2. So yeah, that's what we got coming up. It's gonna be fairly light going forward after next weekend. So yeah, but I think that's about all I got for this one. You?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right then. Till next time. Thanks
Bye.
for listening.
So long.
Toodles.